guys, Rick Shaw here on the 11th of October 2021. We might have to take this cover down today. It's getting pretty windy. It was windy last night, but it's getting real windy today. But I wanted to talk about my ride, not so much about the ride, but about the bike. I had a really enjoyable ride. I was in no hurry. I had a couple spots where I really zoomed her up. I had her up to 90 kilometers per hour on a stretch, and it was still picking up a tiny bit, but that was just where it was lit really well. Big wide boulevard, nobody out. Van passed me really cooking, so I just pulled him behind him and zoomed her up pretty good. But one thing happened on it. I had put these where I wanted it, but when you pulled the clutch and it was hitting this high beam, I have no use for those. If I need to flash somebody with my high beam, I'll do it with a switch. I just don't like those, so I had to move it back. You can't adjust this because there's a pin in there that locates it. Same over here, so there's not much I can do. I would love to get some different handlebars for this. Maybe a little bit higher just so I could see my mirrors better, but they're not bad. One thing I don't like about this, these are not running lights. They're only blinkers, front and back. The only light you have here is this in the back, and of course your headlight in the front. So that's something that probably because they put such a bad stator or something, not enough power, I'm not sure. The light, I like the headlight on this thing. It's really good. The thing rides great, but the one thing that happened last night, and it happened many times, even though I wasn't going that fast, was the front end bottoms out. And when I sit on this bike, I'm back here. My legs are real long, so for a comfortable ride, I'm sitting, back almost behind the shocks here, where my butt sits. I'm not up in here. And it is a stretch. I'd like to have some handlebars that come up at least this high, but then sweep back. A nice rounded one. I could probably get one made where, I get the big rounded thing that I need, and then just have it welded on the bottom to get this thing back to me a little bit more, so I'm not stretching so much. But the bike did great last night. Didn't lose any air in its tires. I checked them this morning. I also, checked the oil, went over it a little bit. It's getting kind of dirty. I'm going to have to clean it up again. But I'm going to wait until I'm done with my sprocket. The Loctite is supposed to be here. Look at that wind we got, guys. But the Loctite should be here tomorrow. So maybe tomorrow if it's not raining. I don't know what this weather's going to do. There's a typhoon that moved north, way north, but it's bringing in this wind and probably going to have some rain. I put my plant out here. I might bring it in. I like them to get some rainwater, but I just had a great ride. I woke up and thought, I'm not going to just sit around here. So I went for that. Was a good ride last night. It was a little over 2 hours, and the bike just ran flawless. It's fueling real good. I just really like it for the money. For $1,000, for $1,000, for $1,000, you can have one of these. It just doesn't seem stable when my wife's on the back, like when I had the Rouser. Her and I went all over the place on that thing. But if she even wiggles a little bit, it throws it around. But just at the slower speeds, just at the stop and go speeds. That's why I want to go with that 51.2 sprocket on the back. I don't know if I'm going to have to replace the chain. I'll find out. But that can, no problem. I can do that if I have to. But I'm thinking just for a little bit of low down. It's not a bike that I'm just going to be flying fast with. It's like a cruiser for me. I did try taking off the one they tell you, the shock off the back, but it kind of disrupted the front end. It even made it less stable. It gave a better ride for sure, but it had the bike squatting down more, so the front end, it made the front kind of wonky. So I just put it back on. I just watched the bumps, but that front end bottoming out, it really sucks. That is sprung so light, even though all my weight's back here. I'm not really putting a lot of weight on the front, and it just can't handle it. So that's something I have to get some heavier springs. But the problem with this bike is finding stuff for it. You know, just to find that sprocket was a long search. You know, a lot of the bikes, the Hondas and stuff, and the Suzuki, you can get all kinds of parts for them. They've been making them probably longer too. So, but I'd love to have a cross-reference on a lot of stuff. But one thing I absolutely 100% have to do is change out these front springs. It doesn't look like it's going to be a difficult job at all. I think it's going to be easy. This one, the way this goes, I'm going to have to slide it out, unbolt it and slide it out. But that's a definite must be done. You know, it's going to wind up being a people hauler down the road here. I'll ride it for a year like this, and when I go to the LTO, I'll swap it around. And you know, I want to get that jeepney back for it. I have the pictures of it on other videos. It's a yellow one, really nice, nice for putting the kids in, grocery shopping. And I'm pretty much just about 99% decided on that instead of a tricycle, because here in this town there's roads that you can't go on with a tricycle. The traffic cops will pop you. You know, even though it's private and I'm not doing it for business, you can't go on them. So you got to go around, and you know, just not good. So with 4 wheels on it, then it'll have 4 wheels, and I can drive it wherever the heck I want. Can't drive anything like that on the highway.
Have apple juice?
Yeah, go ahead. But I don't even want to. Wouldn't even want to drive it. I don't care how big it was. Something like that on the highway, that'd just be ridiculous. It's not for getting anywhere super fast. I'm retired. I don't need to get anywhere real fast. That's one thing when you come here about the driving. Just know that. And night drives, just keep your head on your shoulders and and on a swivel. Watch around. I ran into some fellows that pulled. They jumped on their bikes and hurried up and got behind me, and they didn't look right. When I turned and looked at them, they looked like they weren't real good guys. And when I turned around, quick, I did a real quick U-turn. I had a big open area. Dropped her down into gear and just turned around lickety split. They went to try to make the turn and wound up making a left. Well, that road goes in and then angles. It angles back to the road that I was on. And when I was looking to the right, I seen him coming up that way, so I turned around again and then boogied. That's when I did my boogie speed. A van passed me and he was cooking, lots of lights, so I cooked. Yeah, but
windy today.
Yeah, it's very windy today. But it's really stable in the wind. I got hit with some pretty good gusts last night. I was heading over north of here. It got pretty open, and that's like a ridge over there. And I got hit with some good gusts, but it's real stable. The tires on it, I really like them. I'll wind up putting that big flat one on here when I get. What?
Yeah.
What you see? Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, we got some little flowers in there. A lot of the plants, the tomatoes and stuff didn't do too good. The peppers did okay, but we'll see how that goes. I want to build this up. I want to build this up at least as high as that, just over here and over here, and then make a walkway through there and have it raised up so that. And I want to plant the Christmas tree in the middle of there, so we have a Christmas tree. That's our Christmas tree. And I have a place to put a plug over there if I want to put lights, but also they sell now. I've seen them all over the place where it just takes little batteries inside the little white box, and it'll run these LED lights for a heck of a long time. They never did that in the past because the batteries you'd just be constantly replacing the batteries. But with these new LED lights, and plus because they're blinking, they use half the power. I used to have a coon hunting light that I had. I wanted a small one. There's a nice little feller. Look at him. There you go. He's a beauty. But it had a flicker switch on it, strobe, and that thing would burn continuous for about 8 hours. and it didn't get dim when it got to its 8 hours. It just shut off. That's the way it was made. That kind of battery wasn't like the old mine lights. I loved those. They would start getting dim, but I found out there'd be nights we'd be out for 12 hours or more, so I didn't want to go without a light on, and I would put it on the flicker. And easily got, I never went over 12, 13 hours, but it never ever ran out. And I still had plenty of battery left, so the flicker's kind of nice. That's something else I loved on the bikes too. When you have a flicker on the headlight, I had that on a few bikes. I had that Harley Dyna Fat Bob. I had it on there. That was one thing I did put on the Buell also, because I used to zoom those around good. And daytime, here, I like to have the light on in the day so people can see you. I want people to see me. And last night with so many people driving without their lights on, it's just amazing. I didn't go into too many real dark areas, and some bumpy roads though. That's the bad thing about this. But it wasn't a bad ride. It didn't beat my back up or anything like that. I tried the Kickstarter on it. It kicks over real easy. This thing is cold-blooded though when it comes to starting it up from when it's just sitting. If it sits overnight, it ain't starting without the choke, guys. You got to leave the choke on. And if I pull out of the development and shut the choke off, and I need power, you got to leave the choke on for a while. This thing's really cold-blooded. But even when even after that long ride last night, there wasn't a lot of heat coming off the motor, so it's cooled. It's cooled very well. It's for a tricycle. It's set up for a tricycle. So that's what they did with these fins. Yamaha does a good job when they set out to what they want to do, they achieve it. And so far, nothing's coming loose on it. It is a pretty smooth bike. I didn't get on that ride last night. That was probably my longest ride I took. I didn't get to where I was feeling bad. The vibration through the handlebars wasn't bad. I do not like these grips though. I didn't have gloves last night, and my hands they get clammy sometimes. My hands are always a little bit sweaty, and they're slick. I don't like these. I want to get that fixed when I can. I would love that if I can't get a handlebar to get up a little bit and back, I'd love to get something that gets this more up in the air, because having a good set of mirrors on a bike is something. Right now if I glance down, they're pretty good. They're not as good as I've ever had, but I got to kind of scoot my body out of the way so I can see. And I like to just be able to glance down and see. When I was riding in the States, I actually had a helmet that had these bonded on. They were bonded. It had a rack that went across here, and you had little mirrors that came down right here. And they weren't really in the way. They were really great, and I actually riveted through. I went in and took the guts out of the helmet, drilled a nice small hole, got little small rivets, and then I went ahead and put a good-sized washer in the back, and I tightened that up in there, and that was on that helmet up until I got rid of the helmet. And those mirrors were fantastic, because you got to see what's behind you. You never know, even if you're sitting at a light. This bike, I have to turn the wheel a little bit when I'm sitting at a light. I'll turn it to the right, and that way I can see behind me, because you never know if some big truck's going to come along with no brakes. We saw an accident where we lived in Carmona, where the truck came down the hill. He had lost his brakes, and he hit a jeepney and wiped out a whole bunch of people, smashed cars, all the heck, a big dump truck. He couldn't stop. Now, last night, something I did notice, the jeepney guys that were driving in their big dually jeepneys, they were cooking along pretty good. They were moving. These are the big, trucks, big dual axle in the back and real tall, and plus the top's loaded with coconuts, the whole inside's loaded. So they're carrying a lot of weight, these guys, vegetables and stuff and fruit. But a lot of the big regular dump-like trucks and the trucks that were, had those big, like train car things, they put them on the ships, those cargo boxes, and then they just strap them, the wheels on the bottom of them, and they move them. They weren't really going too fast. They were just going at a very moderate speed through town, and no big hurry. And that's great. I kind of like that. I felt pretty safe on that ride last night. And these bikes, I'm telling you, they got plenty of good power. Everybody thinks these little 125s are. If you need to get up quick, fast, and in a hurry, they'll do it. They'll get up there pretty good. We're not riding on a super bike or anything like that, but they'll get up and go if you need to get out of there. I would love to have something with some more power, so that I can get on the highway. That's my main thing. I'd like to be able to drive on the highway somewhat, but I personally think, my wife, she always worries when we get on the highway, but I think we're safer on the highway than we are, on the side streets, because the way people pull out, and the way people just didn't even care about the lights last night. Even the trucks. I had went past these trucks. I was doing about 40 or so, a little over 40, and when I get past a truck, when I go to pass, I don't like to dilly-dally behind them, so I zoomed up past them real quick. Well, when I came up to the light, I was in the right lane, and of course, I stopped. It's a red light. Those trucks never even slowed down. There was two of them, and they just stayed in that left lane and just zipped right through the light. Lights here, it seems, are optional at nighttime, so that's something that you have to know. That's why that woke me up, because it happened early in the ride, and that's when I would be coming up to a green light where I was looking. I always do look to crossroads. You never know who's going to pull out. I did have one tricycle just pulled out. He was in a real dingy looking tricycle. I didn't see him on the side road. No lights on at all, no reflectors, nothing like that. And he was working. He had a bunch of stuff he was carrying in it, like he was getting stuff to take to a store, a little sorry store. And he just shot right out into my lane in front of me. I had to hit the brakes hard and shoot over to the right lane. That's why I always like to have good mirrors. I already knew that there was nobody behind me there. But he just didn't seem to. He didn't seem to care at all. So that was. That's just what you're going to see around here when you drive here. But I do like to take night rides, solitary rides sometimes. It's my psychiatrist. Whenever things aren't going right, you just take a nice ride, and that just empties the brain of all the crap. You're doing something. You have to be alert. You have to be very, very alert and careful on any rides here. I don't care where you're riding. Even if there's no, like last night, not that much traffic, you got spots in the road. That's why I really like this headlight. It's not blinding. Another thing I do on the ones that I have with the face shield, I'm going to show you here, is I've done this for years and years on all of them. I put this piece of tape here, okay? And sometimes I would put just a thin line across so I could see up above, like for lights and stuff. But this helmet, it was just fine like that. And the reason I do that is mainly for, like the sun, if you're driving west in the afternoon, that'll keep you from the sun from getting in your eyes. You can kind of hide behind that. And here, more importantly, put it on your helmet. Do the same thing like I do. Put it on your visor, because the high beamers, they ride with high beams here. And one of my subscribers, or viewers anyway, said the reason they do that is because they tint the windows. And I started really looking, and they can't see. They cannot see, especially if you're passing somebody too. Horns aren't a bad, they're not like you're mad at somebody or anything here. Whenever I'm passing somebody on the left-hand side, I give a little toot so that they know I'm coming. That's a little safety thing. And the horn on this one's really good. I have another horn, a real loud one, but I don't want something that's gonna be too loud. One guy on a bike was coming past me last night, and he had sounded like an old Buick or old Cadillac horn. It was really loud, and it was like a dual tone. And when he hit that dang thing, it's a little startling. It was extremely loud, even though he just tapped it. But I don't want anything like that. I want just a meep. Let them know I'm there. And I advise you, if you're riding bikes around here, use your horn. Let them know. They're not going to get pissed off. Like in the States, especially out in California, if you beep at somebody, they want to shoot you. It's just silly. All I'm doing is letting them know I'm there. That's it. That's all I want to do. And here they don't get ticked off. They'll look in their mirror, they'll look to the side. But I have had cars, when I'd be pulling up, I don't like to stay beside them, but in traffic, and they don't care. I think they even sometimes see you. They just pull right into you. They'll squeeze you into the lane. And here off the sides of the roads, there's a lot of like cement ditches, basically. That's their drainage. You'll see a lot of that here, so you want to be careful of that. Some people say, when these people are passing real bad, stay to the right. Here, you got to be careful staying in the center because a lot of oil on the road. But if you get over too far to one side of the lane or the other, they're going to come squeeze you out. I've had cars that just pull. They'll get out in the oncoming lane somewhat, and then there'll be a car coming, and they don't care. They just come over, and they'll squeeze you right out. And that's like everyday occurrence, guys. This isn't. I really didn't run into too much trouble driving in the States, and I started driving. I remember sneaking my brother's mini bike when I was like 5. Whenever he wasn't around, I'd fire up his mini bike, and I was riding. Always put gas in it, you know what I mean? I'd get a pop bottle, make sure I had gas for it. That was back when gas was like 43 cents a gallon. But and then I always rode. I pretty much always had a bike. This was the longest I had been without a bike because we sold the tricycle in 2016, and then I just got this one only a few months ago. So that was a very long stretch of not having a bike. And for me, that's, I always had them. I had one that I lived in a first floor apartment. I used to pull it in the living room. I was afraid of somebody snitching it when I had Water Buffalo. That was a nice bike. I had a lot of fun on that bike. And but I was looking at the Suzuki SV650. I see so many good reviews on that. But what happened to me, I bought 2 brand new Suzukis, and the one of them, I liked the motor. I went in just to look for a bike. I had cash, and this one had, instead of on the one side of the motor or the other, it had the cam chain, dual overhead cams. It had that down the center, and I thought, okay, that's a real good one to get. Well, the day I drove that one home, it was in July, and I was planning on just bringing it home and parking it. I had another bike and just parking it and break it in the winter time. Well, it was a super hot day that day, and I was sitting at a light. I wasn't hammering the bike or anything like that. It was super hot, and I had put on at the dealer one of those oil temperature things, and the oil temperature was way up there. So I wasn't really beating the heck out of it. I was getting it up to a speed to help cool the motor, and that motor came apart. It split the whole head and just went. So that was the Suzuki. And then Suzuki didn't want to warrant it. They said abuse. And then finally the dealer guy, he took another motor off another bike and put it on my bike because, our whole family bought from there. So the dealer's the guy who fixed me up, not Suzuki. And then it was years later, I didn't want to mess with them. I got into Yamahas and Hondas. And then I picked up, I was actually going in to buy this Yamaha Virago. It was just a nice looking bike, and they had one at the dealer that was this super narrow one, V-twin. It had nothing on it. It was like a stripped version, naked, not like the rest of them that had all the fancy stuff. This was like the plainest Jane one they had, and it was narrow. The dealership had customized it themselves, and they narrowed the handlebars down. They had not stock handlebars, but they were super narrow. I liked that. I was going to go buy that, but when I walked in the door, they had a Suzuki Marauder there. And I looked at that and I was like, oh, that's just too cool. V-twin. I actually had a buddy who was an airbrusher, and we took the decals off it that said Marauder and Suzuki, and we put Harley Davidson. Everybody thought it was a Harley. Before I had my garage built for it, I asked the neighbor if I could park it in his garage because he had a double garage and just one truck that he put in there, and he didn't have any, the garage was basically empty. He says, yeah, sure, you can go ahead and put it in there, and then he gets some cardboard and puts it underneath it. And I said, what you doing that for? It's brand new. Oh, they all leak. All them Harleys leak. I said, it's not. It's a Suzuki. And he was shocked. He was shocked. I mean, if you were a Harley guy, you would know right off the bat it wasn't a Harley, but most people didn't know. But that bike had problems. It ate the chain, even though the back was adjusted perfectly. Chain and sprockets, it did things. Then it was backfiring through the carb and blowing the air cleaner out. It backfired all the time. I took it in time and time again. Another time, there he is again. He got over on the bike, little fella. I think he's got the palsy. But it backfired and started on fire, and I put it out, and then I had the dealer come and get it. And they said I was abusing it, and I wasn't. I was still in the break-in. I wasn't hammering the shit out of this or nothing. And then finally, I got it back from them. They said it's good now. And they were the guy that owned the dealership. He was like kind of mad at me, and I'm like, hey, you're getting paid for this. It's under warranty. You know, what are you getting all in my ass? And I'm thinking I'm not going to go back to him. I'm going to go to somebody else. And then I was talking to him about trading it in. He wouldn't give me nothing for it. You know, this thing, you abused it. And it's like, and it wore the tire. The back tire was wore out in about 1,000 miles. Had to replace the tire. And then one day at a light, I stopped. And as soon as I hit the gas, the dang thing backfired through the carb and started on fire. So you know what I did? I got off. I got off and just let it burn. And then I wound up getting the insurance for it. But that thing, that's why I'm real shy on Suzukis. I've known people had them, and they had really good luck. But me, I'm 2 for 2. I'm getting a bad Suzuki. You know, so that's just the way that goes. But this is, to me, I think it's a beautiful bike. It's got a little driver right now. I don't think he's going to be able to reach the shifter, though. That little fella right there. How you doing, buddy? I like to keep these around. I'd like to get some film of where they're attacking a bug. I got the kids so they don't hurt them. Moo-Moo's killed a couple of them. I don't want him to kill them, but I love the looks of this little bike. I think it's fantastic, and I love the looks of our buggy here, the Honda. I think that's a good-looking vehicle. It runs great. You know, doesn't leak anything. It's just a fantastic little car. We keep the maintenance up on everything religiously. I take good care of them. I like synthetic and everything. And this one, we get the synthetic. I've got inside of here, I've got a couple quarts of synthetic oil. You got to make sure when you're buying synthetic oil for a motorcycle that has a wet clutch, like this one does. It's a wet clutch. You can't buy the car. Everybody says, oh, that synthetic's no good. It's going to make a clutch slip. Yeah, of course it is, because there's molybdenum in it. If it says energy conserving on that oil for your car, I can't use the AMS oil that goes in my car in the bike. It'll just, the clutch will slip. You have to buy, it's like T-rated here, and there's no molybdenum in it, so that you don't slip your clutch. But I've never had problems with the synthetic. I've had bikes that had ridiculous amounts of miles on them. I mean, I used them for work, even in the wintertime. I worked at one place that was, I was about, I don't think it was even a mile off the highway. And then my work was the exit. So you got off the exit and boom, you were at work. It was the work driveway was actually still into the exit, because when they put the highway in, and you just pulled right in the parking lot. So, and then I had about a 24-mile ride, and I did that all winter. I actually carried a shovel. I had a real nice shovel I put on my back because they would get drifts of snow, and I'd take the old tires and drill the screws in from the inside. So I had spikes on it. And never really fell down. You know, never fell down unless I was goofing around on a pond or something. And I fell down a couple times, just that. But never driving it on the road. And one time I got to a drift that was pretty long. So I got out and I'm shoveling the thing out so I could get my bike through. And there was a guy in a car behind me, and he goes, hey, why don't you shovel it wider so we can get through? What for? I'm not shoveling it for you. And he's like, hey, lend me your shovel. I'm not waiting here for you to shovel this out, pal. I'm going to work. And I got through the thing. Sorry, pal. You know, get your own shovel. But that's how I drove it. I drove that bike. I went to work the one night. They always let me park it up inside the loading dock, but they were having a whole bunch of trucks were coming in. They were doing a lot of changes with the electric and moving machinery around. It was a printing place, and they were changing the whole thing. They made newspapers, magazines, all kinds of stuff like that. And they said you got to put it outside, and it was an incredibly cold and windy night. And that bike had a shaft drive on it. When I got out, it wouldn't. You couldn't get it; it wouldn't go. That was a Suzuki that had the 1100 motor on it when the motor was replaced, and wouldn't go. Plus, it had a light on it that it was orange, and then when it warmed up, it would turn green. We had to get some of these things called press heaters. They were like heat lights, and put it on either side of the bike. They let me bring it inside, and they put it on either side just to warm up the fluid in the back. And that's when I switched that one over to synthetic also in the back when I changed it. And that eliminated that problem. But the stuff had just congealed so thick, the bike wouldn't go. And I didn't want to force it. You know, I'm not into doing that. But I got her home, and the whole way home, I pulled a 25-mile ride the whole way home, and the dang thing still never came off of the orange light. It had never warmed up. Check him out. He's still there. There's my little buddy. Hope you can see him good. We've got some pretty good big ones around here. I actually saw a couple maroon ones. We got a lot of them around here, and I never like to hurt them. There's some that are in the house now. They're living up in that tray up in the ceiling. I'll see them coming out of there, but they're hunters, and there's bugs up there. I put a sticky paper up in that tray, and I went up to check it, got the flashlight, and I'm glad I didn't stick my hand in there to pull it out because it was so covered in crawly bugs and the big spiders with the thing on their belly. That's where they're at now, and I had 4 of those caught on there. I don't like them because they'll crawl when you're in bed at night. They'll crawl right over your face and stuff. I just don't like those spiders. I know they're supposed to be a really good spider to have around, but we just had too many of them here. I wasn't liking that at all. I'm not really scared of spiders or anything like that, but I just do not like waking up in the night with a spider on my face, guys. I just don't. But those dang things, you hit them, you just give them a slight whack, and it does them in. It kills them. They're very, very delicate, those spiders. But when those little things hatch, there's a whole bunch of them, and they'll stay on the big spider. They climb onto them and stay there for a while till they get bigger. But we did have quite a few of them. I was going up in the bedroom, pulled the bed out, and vacuumed. At first we had the mattress on the floor, and when I pulled that out, I was just sucking those things up with the vacuum cleaner like crazy. It was just ridiculous how many there was. I didn't think about up in the tray up there, our drop. We got the vaulted ceiling, but I put some more of that, just a cheap sticky paper. You can get it for 20 pesos or something down at the store. Japanese stores got the best deal on that. And you just pull the 2 papers apart. I would actually cut them because the it's too wide for the tray, and I don't want them to have a little path. So I was just cutting strips about so wide and laying it on an angle in the trays in different spots. And I was amazed at all the bugs that I caught. And our little pull down ones that come in like the little tube, and then you pull them down and you hang them. It's amazing how full those get quickly. We have to, we got to get something done with these screens here. Get that done in a hurry, and you just have to leave things closed. You have to leave things closed. It's about 10 in the morning. We got to keep the windows and doors, screen doors closed. Right now our little screen door latch broke, and the way the wind's blowing, it's popping that door open and closed right now. I'll have to stick a piece of wood in there or something, but the little latch thing broke. But it'd be nice if that spring was a little bit stronger that holds it. The door closer. That would be kind of cool, but I'm hoping the wind doesn't get too stiff, but this will come off. It's real easy to get off. I got it so that it's pinched between the thing upstairs so that it doesn't move around too much. And then you just lower it down over there, lower all the legs down. We can take this off real easy. Then we'll just leave this up. I'm not worried about the wind blowing this away. Just push it back up so it's hitting the concrete on the deck up there. I don't think it's going to blow away, but I'll have to get in here and cover everything with a tarp. That's a pain. We keep this covered with a tarp. And I got it now where I got some bottles to hold this here. That seems to be working well, and then we can just flip it over into that yard, at least until they build a house there. I don't know how they're going to do. That's a pretty big lot there. We actually looked at that lot and the one over there, but they wanted so much more money, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pesos just for that bigger lot. And I can understand it. The wall's got to be bigger. There's a lot of stuff to it. So, but hopefully they don't stick the house real close. It'd be nice if they left a little pathway in here. They probably won't, but that would be nice. That would be really nice. But if they don't, that's gonna keep the rain out of here.